I just stayed at 40 all-inclusives in less than 2 years, which is crazy to think about because a quarter of my life over the past 2 years has been at all-inclusive hotels. And I'm talking, I stayed at these properties, not walkthroughs, not visitations, not tours. I've actually stayed at them. For each one, pretty much a minimum of 4 nights. After visiting 40 all-inclusive hotels, these are my 15 biggest takeaways. Now, I see a lot of videos on the internet about the biggest mistakes for rookies or the best recommendations for first-timers, and forget that. I stayed at 40 and I'm still learning things. On this Punta Cana trip, I've learned some things I'm going to talk about in this video. So no matter how many times you've stayed, I feel that these are going to be great recommendations for you. With that being said, I'm just going to dive right into it. Number one, we're going to start very, very generically, and that is when to go. You just have to know when you go to these all-inclusives, usually there's going to be an on-season and an off-season, a rainy season and a sunny season. There's going to be a seaweed season if you're going to the Caribbean. Also pay attention to the historical weather data. Use this to your advantage. I'll drop a couple links in the description below. Take a look at the months you want to go and then look at the historical weather data. How many sunny days are there usually? How many rainy days are there usually? During those days, how many hours is the sun out? How many hours is there cloud cover? Use the historical data to make your decision. It is historical data. It's not going to be 100% predictive. Anything could happen, but it is going to be a general predictor of how the weather is going to be. Number 2 is TripAdvisor reviews or reviews in general. I don't place a ton of emphasis on these. I will use them as a little bit of a barometer, a tad of a guide, but that's pretty much it. They're just too random, and we are individuals. We are all unique, and our preferences differ from person to person. I find a lot of the reviews to be written by people who don't have a lot of travel experience. I find some of the reviews to be written by people with agendas or biases. You just never really know. So what I recommend doing is finding travel vloggers or travel bloggers or writers who you identify with, someone who might have similar interests or a lifestyle or passions or place the same emphasis on the same things you do, and listen to what they have to say. I think the quality of the reviewer is much more important than the number of reviews. Number 3 is airport transportation. Now, a lot of hotels will include this in their package, but they may not advertise it or even tell you about it. It's always important to do your research or ask them about their policy or if it's included. Also, not all transports are created equal. Some hotels will give you a private transport, others will put you on their own personal shuttle, and others will just put you on a general shuttle altogether. It's important to find out the type of transfer that your hotel is offering, and if it's something that's going to take an extra 2, 3, or 4 hours, don't be afraid to book your own mode of transportation. Number 4 is one I talk about from time to time. I put a lot of emphasis on this. I'm not a big fan of going to an all-inclusive and checking in after 6 or 7 p.m. I just think it's worthless. You've pretty much missed a full day. You've lost your day at the pool. You've lost your day at the beach. If you get to the hotel at 6 or 7, you might not get to your room until 8 or 9. And what are you really paying for that day? So if your flight does arrive late, what I recommend doing is just booking what I call a staging hotel, a hotel that's either close to the airport or maybe close to the hotel you're going to be staying at. It's just a room to flop for the night. If I have a flight that lands in the evening, I will book a staging hotel, just like a $50 or $100 night hotel room. I will get a quick bite. I will go to sleep early, get over my jet lag, wake up early, head to my all-inclusive around 10:30, 11 a.m. in the morning. And even though check-in time is at 3 p.m., the all-inclusive resort will give you access to the property. So you can stow your bags, go to the beach, go to the buffet, and really take advantage of a full day. Number 5 is critical. I've been burned on this several times. I've actually been burned on this one recently because I just didn't remember to confirm it. Always confirm your room type. It's imperative. Don't just assume they're going to get it right. If you book a junior suite with a king bed, make sure they're giving you a junior suite with a king bed, not 2 queens or 2 doubles. If you booked an upgraded pool view, make sure they're going to give it to you. Always confirm the room type, specifically the bed style. That way you won't have any problems when you get to your room. If you saw my Majestic Mirage video, you know what I'm talking about here. Always confirm payment. Always keep your receipts and take pictures of your receipts in case you misplace them. I think we all just assume that hotels are gonna know that you paid or not, or we all assume that hotels are gonna be upstanding, and not all of them are. After making that Majestic Mirage video, a lot of people came out and said this has happened to them, where hotels try to double charge them or have double charged them. If I did not have my receipt, I would have been in a very uncomfortable position. being in a foreign country with a hotel accusing you of not paying thousands of dollars. So always, always, always keep your receipts and take pictures of them. Number 7 is huge. It's so huge that I have 4 parts to it. It's critical. It's one of the biggest parts of going to an all-inclusive, and that is the restaurants. Find out the restaurant policy ahead of time. Some do a reservation policy, some do first come, first serve, and some just say stroll in whenever you want. If the hotels do take reservations, this one might be a little bit of a mind blower. You can make them ahead of time. And this is something I just found out recently. I thought you had to be at a hotel to make a restaurant reservation, but apparently at a lot of these all-inclusives, you could actually make your restaurant reservations ahead of time. Make your restaurant reservations ahead of time, and when you do so, make them late. Make them as late as you can, 8:30, 9 p.m. When you get to the hotel, you can always shift them around, or you can always show up early no matter what, but you can never show up late to your reservation. And then finally, if you are a solo traveler or a couple and you run into a situation where all the restaurants are booked and you didn't make them ahead of time, what I like to do is show up to the restaurant about 15 to 30 minutes after they open. I don't like to show up right away because they typically won't let you in because they'll say they're booked up for a night. But after 15 or 30 minutes after the restaurant opens, they have a pretty good idea of who came in for the initial reservations and who's coming in for the first hour. You could be able to sneak into the restaurant at that time. So if you are trying to walk in, I don't recommend showing up right away. I recommend showing up maybe 15 or 30 minutes after the restaurant opens. Number 8 is the weather forecast. This one's kind of like the TripAdvisor reviews. I put a little bit of emphasis on it, but it's just a guide. Now, I'm talking about tropical weather here, specifically the Caribbean and such. Just kind of use it as a general guide, but definitely do not make plans on activities or pool days based on the weather. It changes rapidly, especially in the morning. If you wake up in the morning and it's cloudy around 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., there's a good chance that the sun could poke through either late morning or early afternoon. So use the weather as a guide, but it shifts rapidly. Don't ever think the weather forecasts are accurate. They're never accurate anywhere, specifically in tropical destinations. Next one is bring some cash. Now, I'm not going to talk about tipping. I've made tipping videos in the past. If you're a pro tipper or anti-tipper, this isn't about any of that, but I always like bringing 2 types of cash. I typically like to bring dollars because that's a universal currency. And I like to bring a little bit of pocket money, or what I call grease money. A worker might do you a huge favor and you might be really inclined to reward them, such as maybe a bartender giving you a bottle of champagne to bring back to the hotel, or maybe a hostess or manager doing you a favor and sneaking you into a restaurant for a reservation. And then I also like to have some emergency money, just a couple $100, $200 or $300, just in case something happens. If a wallet gets stolen or credit cards don't work or whatever happens, I just like to bring a few $100 bills and tuck it away somewhere safe. Number 10 could be a common rookie mistake, but I'm going to take it a step further. That is not knowing that there is an upsell or premium portion to the property, whether it's Excellence Club, Preferred Club, Diamond Club, Reserved Club, whatever it is. You should know that there is usually an upsell component to the property where you get the upgraded minibar or upgraded liquor, upgraded pool, upgraded restaurants, upgraded beach, whatever. I'm going to take it a step further though, and I think it's really important that you research if it's worth it or not. A lot of times I just go ahead and blindly enroll in these, and it can be an extra $100 or $200 a night, and sometimes it makes the property. Sometimes I cannot imagine doing a property without upgrading, and then sometimes I'm left like I was robbed, like I got absolutely nothing. It's imperative to take a look at the benefits and then weigh that with the cost. It can shift from location to location. You might upgrade the Diamond Club at Royalton Chic Punta Cana and really not feel it's worth it, but then you might also upgrade to Diamond Club at Royalton Chic Cancun and feel it was everything. So it really changes from property to property, even with the same brand. Always research if there is an upsell, premium portion to the property, and if it's worth it or not. Number 11 is don't be shy. Don't be afraid to ask. If you want 2 entrees on the same plate, ask for 2 entrees on the same plate. If you are hungry for 4 appetizers, order 4 appetizers. If you want your bed decorated for your honeymoon, don't be afraid to ask. You might be surprised on how many times they say yes. Now, these all-inclusives are usually not trained to go out of their way to proactively offer you stuff, but if you ask for something, whether it's for your birthday or a honeymoon, or maybe you just want 2 entrees on the same plate, don't be afraid to ask. You might be surprised at how many times these all-inclusives say yes. Number 12 is one that I have struggled with in the past. I think we all have. And that is you catch more bees with honey. And it's not always easy, especially when the hotel is wrong. When the hotel is completely wrong and you know it, it's hard not to kind of maybe get mad or defensive or furious, especially if it's a huge mistake, like a hotel accusing you of not paying and asking you for an extra $2,000. But I have learned if you ask for things nicely and you have a smile on your face and you're patient and you're courteous, things are going to go your way a lot more often. And this is true in life in general, but it's really true at these all-inclusive hotels, especially where the culture is much different than it is in America specifically. So if you're looking to get something from the hotel or demanding to get something from the hotel, whether it's their fault or not, in my experience, it's much easier to get it with a smile than a stern look. I've mentioned this before, I'm going to reiterate it again. Bring a nice outfit, no matter what. Even if you're staying at the most budget resort or the most casual resort, bring one nice outfit. You never know what's going to happen. You might get transferred to a different hotel. You might get upgraded to a different portion of the hotel. You might meet some new friends that are going to this really cool place, but there's a dress code. You might meet a very special someone that wants to go to a certain party or a certain place and there's a dress code. You just never know. So even if you're going to the most casual place, always bring at least one nice outfit. For a guy, that's usually closed-toed shoes, a long pair of pants, and a collared shirt. Number 14 is one I'm doing more and more. I never used to do this, but I'm certainly doing it pretty much all the time now, and that is removing my bracelet or at least covering it up when I leave the resort and go in public areas. It just puts you as a mark. It just lets everyone know that you're a tourist. And although it's not that hard to spot a tourist in Cancun or Punta Cana or in the Caribbean or even in London or Tokyo, there are a lot of scams that people try to run. Like they come up and tell you they were your waiter or bartender from a couple of nights ago. And you see so many people, it's tough to identify them. And they tell you that it was great seeing you and could you maybe help me out? Or I have a store over here. Could you come with me? And things can happen. So try to cover it up or remove it if you can. Now pay attention to the bracelet policy at the hotel. If you lose it, there's almost always certainly a fee, but if you remove it and put it in your pocket and bring it back to them and just say you want a new one, usually you're not charged for that. You could be, but usually not. And lastly, scope out the checkout line a day or two in advance. It's so simple. Go there before breakfast or walk by after breakfast or even on your way to the pool or beach for the day and just see what it's like. Is it always busy? Is it never busy? Does a line form at a certain time? And try to get out in front of that so you can get out of the hotel and make your flight on time.